very lively room, and in a way, that's quite a testament to who we're all here to remember. As if she was here now, you would certainly hear her laughing. Just a couple of quick things to bring in. First of all, welcome to everybody, and thank you all very much for coming. I know that Michael and all families are very, very pleased with that. There's just a couple of little things. At the back of the room, you'll see there are some cards on the table there, and you don't need to fill them in now, but what the family would like you to do, if you would, is to take them away and then write a story that you have about Mel that could be read to Ben when he's a bit older, to give him another picture, another slice of who she really was. And they're right in the middle and the back there. And if you can fill them in now, that's fine. Otherwise, take them with you and just mail them back, and that would be fine. I think that was my only piece of serious business, right first off, I should say. I'll be brief. I think we all have a lot to say, and we will say to each other in the course of all this. It's only 3.5 years since I spoke at Michael and I's wedding, but I think as I look at this slideshow, I'm struck by how much they crammed into that time. I mean, all the travel, house, and all the family stuff, and best of all, the birth of Benjamin, who's running around here somewhere. It was, you could say, quality time. I think all of it. And this is closure, if you like, in the best sense. There's a lot of happy memories here in this room for all of us, and some sad ones too. I suppose that nobody dies as long as somebody remembers them. And there are stories that we'll hear today that they're bound to be repeated, good ones. I think Mel was a great foil for Michael in every respect. They complemented each other very well. She was upbeat, smart, and practical, and able to get Michael to see things her way without elevating anything to a level of drama, which is, trust me, that's a gift. She's also the only woman I've ever known with a honey don't list. She said one time, she said, I just got to stop Michael taking things apart and spreading them all over. When he gets in his Energizer Bunny phase, he just keeps going and going and going. And I think she really got her point across when he painted the back door to that crazy old house that she used to have in North Willis. As usual, the day got away from him, and he wound up painting the door in total darkness. He painted the door frame, painted the floor, painted himself quite a lot. Some of his hair was even stuck on the door at the end, as I remember. The door got a lot of paint, but not evenly and not all over. So, Mal made such a happy home for Michael. He stopped motorcycle racing, he sold his Ferrari, he moved clear across town, and he never regretted any of it. He had a richer life. There's a great epitaph on a gravestone in Greyfriars in Edinburgh. I don't remember it all, but the punchline fits Mel exactly. It says, think what a wife should be. And she was that. So, now Michael would like to speak.
Thank you all for coming. Our Melinda was taken from us way too early. But as Paul said, she packed a lot of experiences and accomplishments into the time she had. And in talking to people the last couple of days over and over, the same message came out, that a lot of people don't do as much as she did in a 70 or 80-year-old life, and she packed it into 37 years. So as I went through the photos for today's slideshow, thought about what I wanted to say, I realized really how much she had in the 37 years with us. She accomplished a lot in her career. She was quite a career woman. She culminated in a position managing accounts payable at Intel globally, which meant a lot of late-night phone calls and also a lot of travel. Between our second and third dates, she went to England, Ireland, Israel, and the Philippines. I didn't make that up. They might have suspected I was going to take her away from them, which eventually did. Or Benjamin did, I suppose. I didn't. She still worked after we got married. So I guess that's Ben's. But, she lived not just here in the U.S., but also in Germany and China. Some really cool experiences. She was a great business manager from what she learned at FCNB and Intel, and she often gave me advice on things in the company that I started. Often I didn't even have to ask her for that advice. travel is really important to me and was very important to Melinda. And she saw an awful lot of the world. Besides just living in Germany and China, their family's been all over the Caribbean, Europe. I took her to Maui in September 2004, and that's where I proposed to Mel. And I'll just share a little story about that. I was pretty proud of the proposal. I thought it was pretty romantic for an engineering guy. We were at Sorrento's in West Maui. I got the perfect table right at the water's edge there. I knew to the minute when sunset was, so we were all set up. I arranged for this little 5-year-old Hawaiian girl to come in with, full luau dress and to bring in a flower lei, and the ring was sewn into the lei. And she toddled up to our little table, and she looked at me and said, "Are you Grace?" She nodded. Melinda didn't think anything about it. She had her gin and tonic. She was relaxing. It was all over. So Michael knows everything in Hawaii, right? So it wasn't a big surprise. I said, "Well, Grace, is that those flowers for Melinda? Do you want to give them to her?" She handed it to Melinda and put them over her neck. And Melinda looked down at that, saw the ring, and then looked up, and then I was on my knee. And that was a very special night. One of the pictures in here, right at the end of the slideshow, is minutes before I proposed. And looking back at that picture, I look pretty calm. I have to say that the proposal to Melinda, one of her friends said to her before we went to Maui, she says, "He's going to propose, She says, no, we haven't talked about this, we haven't done that, we haven't done this other. It's one of the few significant events in her life where she didn't plan it all ahead of time with spreadsheets and lists and have everything organized. I don't think she really believed it could happen without that, but it did. We were married in August 2005, surrounded by wonderful friends and family members, a beautiful setting at Subtle Lake. And there I gained a new family, a big one. And they all welcomed me. One weekend, 20 new ones welcomed me down in San Jose. And I know all their names. You can test me later. On our honeymoon, we were lucky enough to visit Islands of Seychelles, where Mel got her scuba certification. So that was her first dive in the open ocean. That was pretty special. And then visited Kenya. We got to see the animal migration in the Masai Mara. And it was fabulous. We stayed at a lodge in one place where we were taken by Samburu warriors out miles from the nearest building. They cooked us dinner over an open fire, and then we slept on this bed on a raised open platform next to a river while we could hear elephants and lions and other animals in the jungle, and the warriors stood out there with their spears standing guard all night. That was a pretty amazing experience. We explored a lot of Oregon together, too. We hiked, snowshoed, cross-country skied, we camped. Until I met Melinda, I was completely unaware that a camping trip required a 4-page list done in 3 colors of pan. But you know what? Like camping trips I planned, we didn't forget anything. In October of 2006, Melinda and I brought little Benjamin into the world. Mostly Melinda. She quit her job. She had this fabulous career going, but being a mom was so important to her. She quit to become a full-time mom, and she showered him with love, attention, and new experiences. She read to him for hours every day. She made most of his baby food from scratch. Took him on her Meals on Wheels route. And those of you that know us well know that community service is important to us. Melinda went through RILA, which is a Rotary program. Melinda's dad is in Rotary, and I'm in Rotary. So the community service is important, and she's starting to show Benjamin in his first year that the importance of that was significant. She took him to OMSI and the zoo, playgrounds at the park, get-togethers with other moms. I know there's a huge group of you from the Moms Group and Solar Strides here. Thank you all for coming. That was all very important, the socializing for Ben. She taught him so many things. I wish potty training could be one of those things. But what she's done for Benjamin is much of the reason why this little boy is the light of my life and a delight to our whole family. He's even got her laugh, as her mom Marianne says. His laugh comes all the way up from his toes. Melinda got a lot out of the time she had with us, and she gave a lot to me, to Benjamin, our family and friends, and community service as well. And she left us some real treasures, wonderful memories, left me with an incredible new family, our amazing little boy Benjamin, who can remind me of his mommy every day for the rest of our lives.
When we got married in February, my sister read this at our wedding, and I'd like to read it today. I'd like to try anyway. I carry your heart with me. I carry it in my heart. I am never without it. Anywhere I go, you go, my dear, and whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. I fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweet. I want no world, for beautiful you are my world, my true, and it's you are whatever a moon has always meant, and whatever a sun will always sing is you. Here's the deepest secret nobody knows. Here's the root of the root, and the bud of the bud, and the sky of a tree called life, which grows higher than the soul can hope or mind can hide. And this is the wonder that's keeping the stars apart. I carry your heart. I carry it in my heart.
I wasn't sure if I could do this today, but I decided I had to. Melinda. First daughter, then sister, next wife, lastly, mother. But all of us here that know her best, this list is not quite in the correct order. I would say, to Melinda, she was doting mother, loving wife, devoted sister, and always daughter. I met Melinda when I met Meredith a little over 9 years ago, and almost instantly was introduced to Mel as somebody I had to gain the respect of. Gary Rayanne, I hate to say it, but her approval was the one I was most worried about getting. I was not born with a sister of my own, and she was not born with a brother. Because of that, our relationship was an unusual and wonderful one. I was at the same time her brother as she was my sister, utterly and completely, but she was also a vigilant guardian of her own sister without falter. She held me to a high expectation in that regard. There was a long time when I was worried about living up to that standard, but not anymore. You see, Melinda herself taught me how to never falter in regard to how I treat the people I love in my life. Melinda is the person that showed me an unlimited capacity for joy and taught me how to find an endless supply of happiness to share and give to anyone and everyone around me. Of all the memories I ask you to hold dear and true about the wonderful woman that was my sister, Melinda, remember the limitless joy, the unending well of happiness, and the truest ability to give of herself that Melinda showed us all, because that is the real lesson that she taught us.
Melinda had a bedtime ritual with Benjamin where she would say, "Who loves you?" Mama and Pops love you, Grandma and Grandpa love you, and she would list all the family and friends who loved him. Well, Melinda, look, who loves you? Grandma's sad. Mike and Melinda had a very short time together, but that time yielded a legacy of wonderful memories in one delightful child. In all the roles she had in life, daughter and mother and sister and daughter-in-law, she did a wonderful, energetic, compassionate job. We loved her so much.
As a father-in-law, she made me so happy because she made my son happy. I don't think a father can ask for anything more than that. She loved us. We loved her very quickly. She just came right into your heart right away. She was so generous. She was so kind. So she shared Benjamin with us. I can't believe anyone was willing to let their child free to the grandparents as much as she was with us. Mothers usually are kind of possessive with their kids. But I guess that meant she trusted us, and she loved us, and she knew that we had nothing but the best in the world intentions for Benjamin. If you had to design a daughter-in-law, the design would have been Melinda. We loved her very much, and we're going to miss her incredibly amount. We're going to do our best to see that Benjamin knows stories of his mother and knows how much she loved him. Thank you.
Melinda was an avid reader. She loved her fairy tales, especially those with happy endings. She knew she would someday meet Prince Charming. She would have babies, and she would live in a lovely home. As she approached 30, I began to wonder if maybe she was being a trifle picky and set in her ways. One Christmas, we were invited to her annual Christmas party, and in semi-panic, she revealed to me that she had accidentally invited 2 beaux. She asked us to entertain one upstairs while she kept the other one busy downstairs in the kitchen. And so we met Prince Michael. And charming is an understatement. Some months later, Michael and her dad were helping plant a little victory garden. The boys had such fun and such good rapport. Gary later told Melinda he didn't know she wanted to marry Michael, but please at least keep him around as a friend. He was a good guy. And they became engaged in September, bought and restored and decorated their home, married the following August, honeymooned in Africa and the Seychelles, and brought forth our little Benjamin the following October. Dreams do come true. She loved being a mommy. I once told her that she would not know how much I loved her until she had a child of her own to love. She knew. She read to him before he was born. No surprise, his first word was book. She took him to music classes when he was 6 months old, and how he loves to dance and sing and make music. She took him to baby boot camp so they could be together and she could get back in shape. She took him to gymnastics, where he has become quite the rock climber and monkey. She involved him in play dates so he would learn to share, and she introduced him to her old favorites, Sesame Street and Elmo. She filled her home with family and friends. Dinners might be planned or impromptu. She was up for it. Michael's grandparents don't travel, so she set dates to troop down to Florence on a regular basis. Very close to her cousins, Mike, Patty, Nancy, and Kathy, she made frequent trips to San Jose so Benjamin would get to know his 11 cousins. Our Melinda loved to laugh. She has 2 plaques in her home. If we couldn't laugh, we would all go insane. And laugh out loud. That girl laughed right out of her toes. And her little Ben laughs right out of his toes, too. When she decided to shave her head, she knew she would want some scarves and head coverings, and Meredith jokingly suggested she could wear a burqa. Melinda's response, "This is cancer, not a conversion." Not long after, she announced that cancer was not fair. Of course, we were in full agreement. And then she finished, "I don't have a hair on my head, but I still have to shave my legs." Thank you. Laugh out loud. Melinda, as you heard, was quite the organizer, planner, list maker extraordinaire. We were once making a move across town and realized we had a freezer full of food. So 17-year-old Melinda pulled out all the food, organized it, listed it, posted a list on the refrigerator, which we were to cross off as the items were used. The list was entitled, "Eat It or Move It." In October, our little Benjamin celebrated his terrific 2 carrot cupcakes by Mommy. Melinda managed a bountiful Thanksgiving. Just 2 weeks before she left us, we were having Ben's picture taken with Santa and shopping in Nordstrom. She came up behind me and whispered, "Mom, I feel so good." She attended to every detail of Christmas, sometimes involved and sometimes just supervising. She looked like a fashion plate on Christmas Eve in her new red sweater that Ben helped to pick out. Ben awoke to a perfect Christmas morning, and she took herself to bed that day. She did manage a taste of her sister's birthday cake on the 28th, and it is my belief that she had accomplished what she had set out to do, what she had planned for herself and her farewell. Our beautiful, our beloved, and our oh so brave little girl has left us with an amazing portfolio of memories. Our hearts are so full of you.
The designated representative is Kathy Nancy, Kathy and Mike.
We normally travel on the patch 20. We are Melinda and Meredith's cousins from California. Our fathers were brothers, and we lived within a mile of each other until Melinda was 3. We were devastated when their family decided to move to Oregon. But fortunately for us, our parents realized how important it was to keep us together. So every year, at least twice a year, Aunt Rhiannon and Uncle Gary would drive down on Christmas from Portland in their Zetmobile, and we cousins would sit in our mother's window hour upon hour upon hour upon hour upon hour to wait for their car to come down the Woohoo Street. We looked more forward to them coming than we did to Santa. Eventually at Rhiannon, we had a lot of unsupervised cousin time. As we grew older, we continued to visiting each other as often as possible. We had so many fun and crazy adventures. Along the way, we met so many of you wonderful people too. Some of the adventures we have shared with our parents, and some of them will forever be kept secret. After Melinda met Michael, they came down for a full-on cousin visit. It was a family birthday party at a park. We knew almost instantly that Michael was the one. We all kept telling, all 20 of us kept telling Melinda that Michael was a keeper. He was proof family approved. Especially after Michael could not only recite all of our names, but all the names of our children. And that was a challenge, but I'm sure Melinda had charts before you came here. We were overjoyed when Melinda and Michael decided to get married. And with the arrival of Uncle Ben, he joined the second generation of cousins. And it was very important to Melinda that Ben continued the experience that we had, and hopefully would have the same close connection. Every motorcycle trip that Michael took became Melinda and Ben's time with their cousins. And Michael and Meredith promised to continue the tradition. And we thank you very much. Many moons ago, all 6 cousins took a wild trip to San Francisco. We crowded into one of those recording studios
because we could sing. And we decided to sing a song that has now become a family creed of ours. We have sung it at all 6 weddings with much celebration. And we even sung a little bit of it the day she died, wrapped in the blanket that so many of you guys contributed to. The song had originally represented our happy little bond, but it wasn't until we recently took a look at the words again that we actually saw how appropriate the words were, and we really felt that Melinda would want to continue us to celebrate the song. Oh God. We'd like to share some of the words with you, the way that we sing it. And we never thought we'd feel this way, and as far as we're concerned, we're glad we got the chance to say that we do believe we love you. And if one should ever go away, well, then close your eyes and try to feel the way we do today. And then if you can remember, keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on us. For sure, that's what family's for good times and bad times. We'll be on your side, we keep together more. That's what family's for. That's what family's for.
Mel's family and Michael's family are in the front row here, and when I finish talking, they would love to talk to you about any stories that you have about Mel. There is one last thing, which actually, this is a request from an old friend of Michael and Mel's, and a number of us in this room, and it's an unlikely little letter. He's on dialysis today, and so he couldn't be here, and he said, could you please read this? And to explain, Cliff Baker he's somewhat older than me and quite a bit crankier, and sort of a classic sort of, grumpy old Englishman. And but he really wanted me to read this to you, and it won't take a minute, so if you don't mind. And it's basically the first time that he met Mel. He said one of those cold, grey midwinter days, and the east wind was blowing hard when Mike phoned. Cliff lives way out on Bald Peak, and winter comes to him a lot sooner than everybody else. Anyway, he says, he wanted me to come to dinner the next evening. I said, I'm sorry, Mike, I'd love to, but I'm snowed in. 12 inches in my driveway. I said, well, how's the main road, Mike asked. Well, it's clear, I think. You might need change, as I see. Well, okay, how if I come to your place in the truck? I'll bring the supplies. I want you to meet my new girlfriend. Mike said, and he sounded like he had a big grin on his face. It's funny how some body language can actually be transmitted over the phone when you know somebody. I said, I'm amused to myself. He's never done that before. She must be a keeper. Knowing something about his past. Mike and Mel arrived on time. Mike was dragging a milk crate as a sled across the snow containing a steak, wine, and other supplies. He introduced Mel, and we exchanged the usual pleasantries. She was bundled up in many layers of clothing, and she had a look on her face that said, I'd rather be in a warm blanket in front of the fire with a hot drink than out here being an Eskimo. About a year later, I remembered the situation, and I asked her, and she said, yeah, that's exactly how I was feeling. What was the rush, I thought? I've just had a message from my wife, Suzanne, who's in heaven. There's a woman pleading with St. Peter to come in. I have to go and help the poor soul. I've watched her for a very long time, and she's looked after Cliff very well. And she can laugh almost as loud as I can. And she loved so many people so tenderly. So, thank you all for coming. I speak for Michael and everybody else here. I think Mel had a wonderful life, and she had wonderful friends and family. And like I said before, nobody dies as long as somebody remembers them. Oh, but there's one last thing. I beg your pardon. Meredith?
After I graduated from high school, I got to go to Europe, and my sister had been there for a year, which was only funny because I wasn't allowed to cross the river, but my mom let me fly to Germany by myself. But my sister and I were sitting in a bar in Germany, and we noticed all these old German people sitting around, and they kept saying our last name over and over again, which we were like, what's that all about? But it turns out that Proust is not only the best last name, but it's a toast. And giving up our toast as a last name was the only thing that was difficult about marrying the men that we fell in love with. But she loved that toast. So to Melinda, Proust.
Thank you all so much for coming.
Thanks, Paul. We're going to put on the CD that we had made from all the songs at our wedding. And the family's going to be gathered around here if we can actually move. A lot of you showed up. That's great. And so if you have a favorite story to tell, even if you don't know one of us very well, that may be even better. Tell a story about the first time you met Mel or a special experience you had. We appreciate that. I think we're going to be here for quite some time, so thank you.